guys, hey, welcome to Apiary Fund Live. Some of you guys, or most of you guys, are probably expecting to see the big guy, our head trader, Sean Lucas. At the last minute, he was pulled away for an emergency meeting that he had to be a part of. And so, yeah, you get the John and Dave show once again, but don't worry, we don't disappoint. Right, John?
Ooh, baby.
So those of you guys trading trading right this second, you might want to be cognizant of the FOMC minutes that have just come out. So it's causing a little bit of volatility right now on the market. It's just the minutes, so that's why we're not trading them at the Apiary Fund, but it still causes some volatility, so you might want to be a little bit careful with your trades if you have them on. Just be cognizant that that's happening for the next little bit. You might see a little bit of volatility happening inside the USD market. So that being said, we wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the Ichimoku components of and what that is, and a little bit about what the indicator is. And so we kind of sat around and we're talking about what kind of material, what kind of product, what can we give you guys that'll be a benefit on these YouTube lives. And we thought, you know what? There's a lot of indicators, and there's a lot of technical indicators. There's a lot of analysis that you can and can't do. Personally, Sean doesn't use indicators. I don't use indicators in my trading. Todd does use indicators in his trading. There's a lot of people that use indicators in their trading, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think it just depends on the style of how you choose to trade. And so as we're going through this kind of material, or basically a brainstorming what material that we should provide, we thought, hey, why don't we go through all the indicators that you can actually use on Apiary, and because it might just benefit you as a trader. And that's our goal, really, is to help you to become a better trader. And again, I have John here, so he's going to help with the questions that you guys have. So please start firing away some questions. But before we dive into anything, I'm going to share with you guys an interesting fact about John. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but his middle name is actually Wayne. For you guys that are of an older generation, you probably know who John Wayne is. So John, why were you named John Wayne?
My dad was a very big fan of the Duke, and so I was named after him. My mom was okay with it. Yeah.
And did you know who he was growing up?
I was immersed in John Wayne movies. My dad had high hopes that I would be this cattle wrangling cowboy, and I'm not afraid of getting dirty and working hard, so that's good, but I'm not a ranch hand or anything.
So this is an interesting fact. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So we call him the Duke around here. So that's his name. They call me the Duke. Go. What's your favorite impersonation?
We're burning daylight, pilgrim.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I know we have a little bit of a lag on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and if you guys could throw some questions at me or response to my questions, I'm going to have John kind of monitor that. But first and foremost, I kind of want to gauge the audience, who we have here. So I want to ask the question, who actually uses indicators? What are some of your favorite indicators that you do use, if you use them? And do we have anybody here that actually uses the Ichimoku indicator? So I'm going to let that sit for a minute because I know we have a lag. So if you guys want to answer those questions, while I talk about some upcoming events that we're actually having at the Apiary Fund. So for those of you guys who are a participant or participate in Trader on the Street, we are looking forward to actually going out to do what we call a rally. And we're really excited about our new idea called a rally, and that is where Sean, myself, John, and a couple other people will be going to your neighborhood and presenting a Trader on the Street episode along with trading, kind of like a small boot camp, if you will, where we're going to be in your area. How we'll do a Trader on the Street episode in the morning, and then after that we'll have some education, and we'll talk about, like we're doing today, indicators. We'll talk about the wobble technique, and we'll trade with you guys. We'll look at the markets live in the condition and live conditions, and then help you guys to get better. And so we have this idea to actually take Trader on the Street to the street. So weird concept, right? Trader on the street, on the street. So for those of you guys, our first ever rally, and we're really, really excited about it, but for those of you guys who are in the Calgary area, we're going to be there the first week of September. September 3rd is the day that we're going to do a rally. There's no cost associated with these rallies. We just kind of want to get out there and rub shoulders with the community. I'll be presenting how to trade the wobble. Sean will be going over a lot of the inside depths of what he does. John will be there to help us out as well. And so we're really looking forward to that, an exciting opportunity to meet with you guys in the Calgary area. Now we do have upcoming ones that we're going to be doing. This is the first one, so we'll gauge how it goes. We want to get as many people as we can, but we're going to be going around, East Coast, West Coast, all over the country. All over North America, apparently. So we don't have planned yet to go across the pond unless we get a big group of people that we don't want to go all the way over there just for a couple people. So, John, real fast, do we have any questions out there for people, or I don't want to sit and bogart everything?
Let's see here. We had a couple. Let's see. I'm not sure if you want to answer this one. Johnny B. Good says, I have an issue with my limit orders getting filled. Since I started, 5 of my limit orders have not been filled when they should have easily. Waiting for tech support. Why is this?
Spread, maybe? That's the first thing I would think of without actually seeing, is you want to be cognizant of the spread. If the spread is large, your limit orders won't get filled. And so you want to be cognizant of where your spread's at. And if it's not the case, then you did the right thing in calling technical support. But that's my first thought would be spread. Okay. If your spread is large and you're trading a pair with a large spread, then you have to hit that spread in order for your limit orders to be filled. Personally, I use limit orders, and I haven't found an issue with using limit orders, other than you just need to be a little bit cognizant of your spread. But great question.
Okay. Mohammed Faizan asks, how...
Let me also say, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're fine.
But sometimes if you do have a firewall blocking or antivirus, that could be that could also cause Alveo to not receive what we call cloud things, where limit orders are and trailing stops are based on the cloud, not local to your machine. And so if you're asking to receive data outside and inside, you want to make sure that Alveo is also an approved program to allow full access through your firewall. So a lot of times support, that's not a number one reason why if something is not working, is because you have a firewall blocking the program and all of its features. So sorry, just thought of that.
No, you're fine. That's good elaboration. Mohammed Faizan asks, how much do you risk per trade? And what is your risk to reward ratio most of the time?
That's a great question, Mohammed. I actually put it all in black and I go for broke. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, okay.
When trading, you want to be very cognizant of a risk-reward ratio. With the Apiary Fund, we allow you to risk 5% of your total balance per day and 2% per trade. And so that's kind of the general rules that we kind of adhere to or live by. Personally, I'm a little bit tighter than that. I tend to only risk 2% of my total. And so if you go into Alveo, there's actually a risk calculator where if you trade 0.01 or 0.05 percentage, you can change that to know how many losses you can take at a certain, if you set your stop loss to 10, 20, 30, how many of those losses you can take before you hit your risk tolerance level of, let's say, 2%. Personally, I would say a good risk tolerance level is if you are risking more than what you can recover from, then that's probably a bad rule. And so I learned that the hard way, where if I can't make 5% a day, then I probably shouldn't be risking 5% a day, if that makes sense. Like I'm sure there's a lot of traders out here that'll be like, I am so good, I can have 4 or 5 winning days in a row, but it's that one losing day that wipes out all my wins, right? It's because your risk tolerance level is greater than what you can recover from in one day. Maybe 2 days if you're a little bit more lenient, but I would definitely say that set your risk tolerance level to whatever you can recover from inside of 24 to 48 hours. Hopefully that makes sense.
Let's see. Merrick Simmons says, John Wayne is the real Captain America. Merrick, respect.
Well, of course, that's not really a question, John. I'm not really sure.
I think that was worthy of being shared. A lot of people sharing their favorite indicators, so that's really nice to see.
Okay, I'm going to look at that actually. So some of your favorite indicators, HMA, MACD, awesome. Allen, or not Allen, FX Gold. You said earlier that you actually use the Ichimoku indicator. What, share with us, how is it working for you? How long have you been doing it? I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience with it, and then I'll get into a little bit of more of the basics or the beginners and of what it is, how we can use it, and what you should avoid, really, while trading with it. Any other questions, John, that you see?
Nope, I think we're caught up now.
Okay. All right. The ATR, Johnny says he uses the ATR RSI. Thanks, Apiary, for we don't appreciate Dave's approach, or we don't suggest Dave's approach. Putting it all on black, is that what you're saying? You know, I will say this in the beginning stages of learning how to trade, and I'm sure that we've all been there before, where we get caught in revenge trading. And so if you're ever caught in revenge trading, I will say this with a little bit of some of the things that I've learned, and I've had conversations with Sean, because ultimately, guys, I want you guys to know that I've learned and a lot from watching Sean trade. He is my mentor, and so I'll pick up a lot of what he does. And we had this conversation not 2 weeks ago, I think, where I said, what is the biggest thing that you would want your students or your traders to know? If you could embed one thing into their brain, what would that be? You know, I was just asking him this question because I was really curious, like, what should I be really focusing on? And we actually were sitting down, and he said, you know, a lot of people, when they first start out, take this lightly, but it is the biggest and most crucial thing that you have to learn as a trader, but it's the hardest thing to learn, and that is the psychology of trading. And that's not, that doesn't mean that that there's one way. It means your psychology. How do you focus on trading? Do you feel great when you have a good day? Do you feel bad when you have a bad day? Does your bad days make you want to give up, or do they make you want to pursue more so you learn from your mistakes, right? And so it's really about that psychology, knowing that when I have, it's kind of hard to explain, but there was just one day this year where I woke up, my trading, and it was like, I know how to trade. I'm a good trader, and if I take a loss, I can recover from it. And so losses don't mean that much to me anymore. And so when you can get to that stage in your trading evolution, that is the most fundamental piece that every trader needs to go through, and every successful trader has gone through, is getting that quiet confidence that they're a good trader. And if you're not there yet, well, let's talk about a little bit of things that we can get there. And one of them is using indicators. For me, indicators are what I call trading wheels. John, do you use indicators in your trading?
I've played with them, but they're not my favorite.
Why?
I like to keep things more simple.
Okay.
I'm sort of a one-track mind kind of person.
So I've definitely gone the route of, I loaded my chart with indicators in the beginning of my trading journey. I've loaded them, I've used them, I studied the heck out of them to find which was the best, because I was trying to find that one great system that I could just use that was like push button, if this then that, right? I found through my own experience that I like trading a naked chart with price action a lot better, on the 1 minute chart, but that's me. If I was to trade long term, I probably would use an indicator to help me with that. So, just out of curiosity, and I'll give 10 points to whoever can come up with this, but anybody know who actually came up with the Ichimoku indicator? Okay, I'm not going to give you too much time because I know you're all on your computers and you're going to be doing searching. So, but what do we got out there, John? Anything?
We have one question, another one from Mohammed, but no responses yet to that question.
Okay, so who actually created the indicator? Okay, so his name was actually. I'm not sure if I can pronounce this correctly, but Goichi Hosoda. Okay, Goichi Hosoda, he was a journalist, and back in the late 60s, okay, is when he actually released his findings, was in the 60s, but apparently for what's known is that he used this technique or did a ton of technical analysis on it for 30 years, perfecting the technique before he actually released it to the public in the 60s. And so that's kind of how we get that Ichimoku, and that's kind of how the names of it are more, I believe, Japanese in nature. So I'm not really strong on the history of it, but let's dive into it really fast. Let's go ahead and I'm going to show you guys my chart, and it looks like our volatility is still there a little bit in the markets. So hopefully you guys were able to profit on some of that movement here with the FOMC. So, all right. So the Ichimoku, I'm going to change this chart. Hopefully you guys are seeing my chart now. Let's go 30 minutes. Okay, so we're going to follow this live up with, just so you guys know, we're going to follow this live up with a more in-depth, as we're going to start knocking out more indicators and which one they use. You guys can probably see a few of them on our channel. We have a couple of them out there, but the Ichimoku is perfect indicator for finding support and resistance in a trend, okay? I will preface that there's a couple do's and don'ts with the Ichimoku indicator, or Moku indicator, is that you do not trade this in a non-trending market. And so it's kind of difficult, probably on the wrong pair right now, to kind of show you, because obviously the euro hasn't been trending for the past couple days. Obviously the past week, so maybe we'll do this.
Canadian, Australian.
Yeah, maybe.
I found that one's pretty good for this time of day.
Yeah, let's try that.
The CAD-odd.
And let's back that out to maybe an hour. Let's go here. Okay, so there's a couple do's and don'ts when trading this indicator. The first is do not trade in a non-trending market. If it's a trending market, that is a perfect indicator to utilize in the trading market. There's a couple different things that I'll show you guys. I'm going to jump over to this pin tool right here. And okay, so this area right in here, hopefully everybody can see that, is what we call the cloud, or the Kumo cloud, okay? And you can change the color to whatever you want, but you got the cloud. The number one thing that you do not want to do is trade when the market is inside the cloud, okay? So that's your first don't do, is you never want to trade when the market is inside the cloud, because it is trying to figure out direction. And so then you have another line right here, which is your top line here, which is kind of like what we call the lagging span, which is your green line right here, if you can see that. Okay, so you got your lagging span, and then we have basically your support and resistance lines right here. And so when the market is trending, or when the market, you see when it's trading above or below the cloud. So when the market is trading above the cloud, that's when you're in a trend. This pin thing is
You have to go to the arrow.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, so you can kind of see that when the market is trading above or below the cloud, that means that it's trending down, or bullish market, when it's above the cloud, that means it's trending up. And so that is one of your basic beginner indicators. Now, there's a lot of things with the Ichimoku indicator that it kind of looks like really confusing. And there's a lot going on. And my suggestion would be, if you want to trade this, to do your research on homework, but it is one of a really, 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 really good indicator if you guys are a long-term trend trader. If you're trading the trends, I would highly suggest taking a look at it. If you're not, if you're a day trader or a short-term trader, then this indicator is probably not going to be for you. Okay? And just kind of looking at the comments too. So, yeah. Exactly, Edward, that comment is perfect. That's exactly what I'm getting at. It makes your charts look really messy. It makes them look really busy. And so if you don't like that, and you don't, and understanding it is the first part of learning how to trade it, right? And so like I said, a couple do's and don'ts. If you guys only have 2 takeaways, never trade inside the cloud when the trading is here, and right here. And also never trade when these lines, when the long-term line, or basically the lagging or the span line of 26 periods, which is your green line, when that crosses over, that means that we're looking for you got a crossover here, and you got a crossover here. When those lines cross over, it looks to be like you have a change. There's a good chance that there's going to be a change in direction. Okay, so if it's below the cloud and they cross over, you could be looking for a buy signal. Or above the cloud and they cross over, you could be looking for a sell signal. Okay, and again, this is for a trend, trying to find those trends. The Ichimoku indicator does a great job, and I keep maybe messing up the name. I don't know. I don't speak Japanese, so it's Ichimoku or Ichimoku. I get those two things confused all the time. But it does a great job of finding that trend. And so if you're a trend trader, I'd highly, highly suggest utilizing this indicator. And so here we have a buy signal and we have a sell signal. Any questions out there?
We have an old one, another one from Muhammad, if you want to answer that one.
Sure.
He says, how much do you risk per trade, and what is your risk to reward ratio most of the time?
I think I answered that.
Okay. Is this best for swing trading, asks Avery Dunn.
Okay. So again, it depends on if you do how long you swing trade for. If it's a day, yeah. If it's longer than a day, for sure. If it's less than a day, I'd probably look at something else, like an HMA or something like that. But as I understand it, you need to just basically look for the crossing points. The crossing points here, and never trade inside the cloud. I mean, I'm trying to break it down as simple as possible. We can get into, what each span talks about, the difference. You can, how many, the periods. You need a 26 period, a 9 period. You can change those, you can adjust those, but I'm really, really, really just trying to keep it on the basic bare bones. And so you got, just to recap, you have what they call the cloud, or what's called the cloud in here. Then you have your top line, and then you have basically your forecasting, your support and resistance lines. So I am going to delete all those. So right here is your support and resistance lines, and then when this crosses over, it means that you're looking for a signal. This gives you a signal to buy, and this is a buy signal here. This is a sell signal. But you wait until it crosses over into the cloud. So that's the basic functionality of this indicator. There's a couple do's and don'ts, and that's really all I want to talk about, because I don't want to get into a huge technical analysis or why it is or how it is or anything like that. But if you guys do trade it, I think FX Gold, you said you do trade it. If there's anything that I am missing as far as a basic thing or what you use, what you like to do, or maybe your strategy, I'd love to hear it. Again, I want to keep it basic. I want to keep it for you guys so you can throw it on there. I'm looking, just going through right here. Thank you, Apiary. Ichimoku. So I don't use it. However, I have used it in the past couple days, and it's worked out really well for me because I'm looking for those trending markets, and I've had a couple trades placed on it. Also, guys, the 21st is my favorite day. Why is that my favorite day, John? Do you have any idea why the 21st of every month is my favorite day of the month?
No.
Enlighten me. Anybody out there? I give you guys 100 points if you know why the 21st is my favorite day of the month. Anybody?
Is it payday?
Close. That's a good one. That's really close. So what happens? Anybody out there know what happens on the 20th of the month? Every single month. Okay, I'm going to make it more difficult. I'll give you guys 200 points if you can answer this question. 200 points. Anybody have the answer? What happens on the 20th of every month in the inside of the Apiary Fund?
The trader guy says, it's our new month. Merrick Simmons says, payday.
Yep.
Payday, payday. You get paid. Payday, payday.
Yeah, I love the 21st because that's when your account gets reset. Okay, so your account gets reset back to zero, and then you get to start trading again. So, and that happened. And then, so at the beginning, I used to thought, wow, it's kind of difficult when your account gets reset every single month, and you have to start at zero. But then I came to love it because you know what? I get to actually receive the funds as tangible. They're not at risk anymore. Plus, I get actually, I'll give you guys a little bit of a tip, what I did to kind of overcome that hurdle, because it was a hurdle. Because that psyche of when you are trading a $10,000 account, a $5,000 account, and then all of a sudden you grew it to 12, 15,000, 20,000, whatever you grow it to, and then all of a sudden it's back to beginning. There's a couple different things that you get to be like, oh, I got to start all over again, or and to me, I struggled with that in the beginning because I was like, I don't want to go negative in my account. And so my first couple trades, I was very timid and shy because I didn't want to go negative because for me, if I'm trading a $10,000 account and I'm up $200, well, now I have $200 to play with, and I feel like I have a little bit of padding or a little bit of buffer, so it gives me more confidence. But in the beginning, if I was $200 negative, it would be a huge draw on my psyche. I'm like, oh, now I got to recover $200 just to get profitable, right? So it'd have that internal battle inside my brain. And one of the things that I did that was really, really good for me and my psyche that I'll lend you guys this is I just traded demo accounts, and I'd reset my demo account every week. And so I'd practice, I'd trade it, build it up, reset it back to whatever 10,000, build it up, reset it back to 10,000, so that I overcame that psychological hurdle of it doesn't matter. I'm a good enough trader to grow my account every single week. And so that really, really helped me to overcome that. Now, on the 21st of the month is my favorite day because I get to start over and it's basically a clean slate and I get to start trading again. So 21st, favorite day.
There you go.
Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps anybody out there. John, what do we got here? Any other questions, comments?
Another question from Mohammed Faizan. Thank you for the questions. I don't want you guys to be timid. Please, don't hesitate. He asks, do you believe just by following risk management we can be a profitable trader without giving much importance to the strategy?
That's a good question. Mathematically, yes, if you have more winners than losers, right? So mathematically, if you have more winners than losers and you're always trading at the same risk-reward ratio, which is a 2 to 1, mathematically you will be if you're a 60%, as long as you don't change your position size or your volume. That's very difficult to do. What I mean by that is it's very difficult for us as humans to not want to change our volume to change our when we see a good trade or we see a perfect setup, we want to get a little bit more aggressive. Or if we take a loss, sometimes we want to get more aggressive to recover that loss. Or sometimes we might not even get out of our losses when we know we should. And so that all goes back to the whole psychological aspect of it. But if you are, mathematically, if you have a risk-reward ratio that's solid, you should be able to be at least a 60%, maybe 55% positive. If you're even 51% winning, then you're good if you have a 2-to-1 risk-reward ratio. That's why you hear that a lot. Is a good rule of thumb is a 2-to-1 risk-reward ratio, because if you win more than you lose, you're going to be doubling up on your winners than you are on your losers. So it's kind of a easy answer, but difficult to follow, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to you, John?
Yeah, I think so.
What about you, John? Have you noticed do you have a risk-reward ratio that you tend to lean on, or when do you say enough's enough? When you bail on a bad trade, do you kind of let the hit your stop losses, or do you get out before it does, or what do you think?
I am not sy about getting out before it hits my stop losses at all. Yeah.
So
if it's not going my way, I'll back out. I don't care.
You don't care? He's just like, I'm going to wait until it goes in my direction, then I'll get in. Okay. And
I need something to be certain. I'm getting a lot more careful about my trading.
Okay. I don't know if you guys, from last week, we call him the Pip Slayer, because he's been doing a really, really, really good job of stacking those pips. And so we're excited for great things to come from him. So, anything else out there before we wrap up?
This might be a little personal. I don't know if you want to answer this. It's from Trejapo, or if I use my American accent, Trejapo. What's the amount of your average payday?
So I don't mind sharing that, but more on a one-on-one basis, because the problem is that if you guys can understand this, we are trading private money, private funds, and so everything's private, close to the chest. You guys, if we were a public company, all of our traders, we were trading public money, all of our traders, you guys included, would have to be licensed and regulated and all that kind of stuff. Because it is private money, that means you're not trading public money. It means your money's not at risk. It means your brother's money's not at risk, or whoever's investing. That we don't take any investment dollars into the fund. And so to answer that question, it has to be more of a one-on-one, because if I were to come out and tell you guys or show you guys, look at my last check or anything like that, then it violates what it's called wage claims. And if I come out and say I'm making this and I'm making a wage claim, which can get us in a lot of water with the regulatory agencies. And so we tend to stay clear, very clear, away from answering any questions that can be construed as a wage claim, right? Because I don't want to sit here and tell you that while trading currencies or any model, you're going to make X. Because if I did that, or if I said I was doing that, that could be construed as what you can do. And so hopefully that answers that question. But at the same token, I can tell you that we have traders trading all levels with the Apiary Fund. Personally, I try to make at least 1 to 2% a day on my money. My goal is to make 1% a day, and then I kind of shut it down. I'm done trading. If I can do that in 5 minutes, great. If it takes me, 4 hours, it takes me 4 hours. I don't always do that every single day, but as a profitable trader, I do that more days than not, right? If you look at Sean trade, he doesn't trade $250,000. He trades a $50,000 account. And he's just fine with that. Making 1% of that or 2% a day on that is what he can do, and that's great. But we're not going to sit here and show you guys checks or show you guys what I did last week or last month or anything like that. And when you do become a funded trader, we have really strict contracts that say that you can't go and do that because of the regulatory agencies that restrict us from doing that. And so we want to keep our nose clean, and we rather err on the side of safety than jump into that gray area. So hopefully that makes sense to you.
Let's see. Norma Jenner says, John Wayne! Norma, it's good to
Thanks,
see
Norma.
you. good to see you again. I remember you from last time. The trader guys, or no, let's see. Danny Shepard says, how do you trade the Ichimoku? Do you have an Ichimoku system? I think you pretty much already covered that, didn't you?
A little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. I definitely, Mary asked if I recommend using the default settings. I definitely use the default settings. I don't typically trade other than I have just recently. I'm actually in a trade that I've used the Ichimoku on, and it's working really good. I'm more of a scalper myself. That's why I say I like getting in, hitting my personal favorite day is when I can make 1% on my trades in 20 minutes. Honestly, I love doing that, being able to be like, I'm done, I walk away, I'm done, right? That's what I love about trading, is that you can do it. Now, obviously 20 minutes isn't gonna happen every day, but that is my preferred trade setup, is when I can get in and get out and be done, And so that's scalping. That's what you can do when you're scalping, right? And Ichimoku is not a scalping strategy. So I'm bringing this to your guys' attention for those of you guys who are working a full-time job, trying to learn how to trade. This might be a great strategy for you guys to look at the charts, the weekly chart on a Sunday, set your trades up for the rest of the week, and just check on them periodically. There's no reason why you shouldn't be successful if you're approaching it that way as well.
Let's see. Sesan Olaya asks, do you guys trade with Renko?
We do. In fact, if you look at our apiary, we're gonna go through that one. That's another one that we'll be doing. But we do have a Renko video up there and talks about it. But we're gonna be redoing that as well, as we're going through all the Apiary Fund indicators and charts and all that kind of stuff.
Let's see. IPS Warrior Fan 186 says, can you share the average payday for all funded bees? I think you pretty much answered that. The answer being no, sorry.
I get stung.
Merrick Simmons asks, do you recommend using the default settings on this indicator, I presume Ichimoku? And I think the answer was yes.
John's going to take the next question.
Mohammed Faizan asks, again, I don't want to quit trading, but sometimes I feel depressed. Any motivation? Heavy metal music, man. That's And a good snack. Take time away from trading. Like if I'm feeling drained or stressed, or like I've been at this too long, just take a step back, listen to some heavy metal music, and eat a cupcake. Have an iced tea. Call it a good day.
Oh, FYI, another interesting fact about John is he's in a band.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So he actually is a really, really good singer. But that's a good advice, though. Just take a step back, relax, chill. The one thing that I've learned is that if you have a bad trade, or there's always a good one around the corner, right? So never feel like you missed an opportunity, because there's always an opportunity to trade every day. Every day there's another opportunity. It's a good question. We're going to take one more question and we'll wrap up. So if there is one more question out there, love to guys, if you guys haven't already, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff on YouTube. Do you guys like having us go over indicators, more in-depth analysis? One of the things comments that I got is we used to bring you guys a ton of technical analysis, a ton of in-depth analysis on the indicators. And the feedback we got was that it was a little bit too much. And so I tried to come out with just a beginner's guide, basic, do this and don't do this. But if you need more meat, I'd love to provide that. If you like the surface, the beginner stuff, I'm okay to do that too. Basically, I want to customize YouTube to fit your guys' needs, to fit what you guys feel is going to benefit you the most as a trader. Our goal at the Apiary Fund is to get you into a funded account as quickly as possible. If you're there, awesome. Let's get you making more money. If you're not there, what do we need to do to get you in there? How can we help? And that's the ultimate goal of these videos. And so we're really trying to brainstorm hard and figure out what is that best opportunity to do that. And so really excited to take on that challenge, and hopefully you guys can help us to provide to you what you feel is the best asset for this platform.
There you go.
So, and was there any last one question, or are we good?
One that might be a good, simple one. Merrick Simmons says, if you have a bad trading day, watch a John Wayne movie. I would say True Grit or The Shootist or Fort Apache. But yeah, let's see. Johnny Amin says, what is the split between Apiary and the traders on their profit?
That's a great question. I'll quickly answer that. So
Yeah.
there's 4 different levels. And as you graduate to each different levels, basically depends on the amount that you're trading. First level is 60%, then you go to 70% the second level, 75 the third, and then 80% the fourth level. And the reason because at the first level, we're still holding your hand, we're still helping you a lot, and then obviously after you graduate to the second level, you don't need us as much, and then ultimately when you're making 80%, you're just trading our money, and you don't really need a helping hand. You just need the capital to trade, and so it really is backwards, guys. I don't know if you guys have traded, if we have any professional traders here that have actually traded hedge funds or traded other people's money. If you trade other people's money, like in a professional capacity, there is no way you're making 60 to 80% on the money it's their money. You're managing it, and you're lucky to get 20% of that. And so Apiary Fund is honestly such a great opportunity for us to not only learn how to trade, but to make a good living while doing it. And so, in fact, if we do have funded traders, let us know who's out there being successful with Apiary. Love seeing your guys' success.
Just before we close out.
Oh, go ahead.
I just noticed that Dan Hunt says, are you guys ever coming to Phoenix? And so we have this Calgary trip coming up for the Trader on the Street rally.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting, but we've talked about if this is successful, we'd like to do more traveling events like that. And so I think there's no reason why we couldn't do Phoenix if there was the audience there. And speaking of metal music, as we were talking about before then, Alice Cooper has a restaurant in Phoenix, so we could go out for a dinner there.
So I guess John is really going to be putting a plug in to get to Phoenix. So honestly, John said one word, and I wanted to elaborate on that word, if the event is successful.
Mm-hmm.
Success is, how we predicate success for those events is how many people actually show up. And so if you guys have an opportunity out there to be like, hey, I can get 50, 60 people, not a problem, because of or go speak in front of this group or that group or whatever. I'd love to hear from you as we're kind of putting our tour dates together, right? Where would be a good place to go? And obviously, if you guys already have a group of people that we can get in front of and trade with, that's going to help us to get to Phoenix faster or get to Orlando and faster. So keep that in mind, and if that's the case, then let me know, and we'll make our way around on rounds, because we are putting our tour.
Yeah.
The Trader on the Street tour.
We got tour dates.
Keep with the band theme, right?
Yeah.
All right, with that, guys, hopefully you guys have a great trading day. Hopefully the announcements didn't mess you up too much. Hopefully you were able to capitalize on some of the volatility. And until we see you guys again, rock on. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Take care.